Hello everybody, it is Brony time and welcome back to Let's Play the Hayseed Knight. When we last left off, we had our first encounter with the very obvious love interest, Joseph. And, well, now we've returned to, modern day with Lynn and, our mysterious narrator. So let's get right on to that. Sorry, is there any way I can replay this? No, there's not. Wait a minute. Dang it, I couldn't. There was a voice, so she said, wait, stop right there. I don't know why it wouldn't let me continue it. The bit about the wall of the gate. Oh, I see. Humans haven't always been so successful at living together as they're now. Wars, gods, horn shape. All the excuses to be different used to make a lot more sense to mortals back then.
No, I know that, but there's no way the knight would have thought something so awful.
Why wouldn't he have? He wasn't a knight yet. Of course he would have be susceptible. People are shaped by the society that they grew up in, unfortunately. And, yes, so, yeah, it's not surprising at the beginning of his journey he would think something like that if he grew up in that time. Doesn't make it right that he thought that, though. Edward was a young, insecure stag at a time when every row felt the need to deny having a single drop of Baron blood in their veins. Why would he think any different?
Why wouldn't he? That's the point, isn't it? That he was different from the rest. How could he believe any of that crap?
This mindset, I never understand this mindset. How should I know? I never had anything against gazelles. Because he grew up within the culture that was discriminating against the other culture. So he thought like that.
Sounds like you weren't a whole lot bothered by those who did, though.
Okay. It's not a case of not being bothered. I mean, he didn't say anything and he didn't do anything at the time, obviously. And I'm pretty sure he might realize that himself. You're right. I wasn't. I just thought there always had to be someone to punch down on. I spent all my energy making sure that would never be me. Who is this guy? He's gotta be the bard, isn't he? That was the world as I saw it, and I never hoped it could be any different. Never wanted it to change. After though, I think he never meant to do that to anyone. He just didn't realize that there was more to the world than the fears he had been raised with. He had to butt heads with more than one type of wall in his life. I could be wrong, of course. His understanding could have been yet another pretense. He may have very well lied about wanting to fight with the rest of us until his very last breath. No, I'm sure he did grow to be a wise and kind man, Lynn. Much wiser and kinder than I ever was, at least. Neither of us would be making excuses for that dumbass otherwise.
Well, I don't care about you, but he'd better rise up soon. I have high-quality standards for my ancestors.
You will always be disappointed then, unfortunately. Glad you do, kid. Where were we? The sun was already up in the sky by the time Adder managed to remember that he was supposed to go to the bazaar.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to arrive so late. Please don't kill me.
Lo and behold, there was no one around.
What do you know? First again. I'm gonna have to ask for a raise at this rate. Oh, hold up. Now ain't the time for that. Andy could get here at any... Boss! Ha! Gotcha. You're gonna end up giving someone a heart attack if you don't quit sneaking up on people like that, you know. Right. Don't you think for a second I forgot I was supposed to prepare the stall. No, ma'am. But You know, days are getting longer, and it's harder to sleep at night, and the streets are real crowded, and...
Aina's silent glare told him that she didn't believe a single word, but she didn't care enough to pry either.
Hey now! Quit giving me that look, Missy! You got here late, too.
She pointed at her hair. Drops of silver-green water were dancing on her tips, painting the ground beneath them.
How is it my fault that you were busy dyeing your hair?
Leaving him with that perfectly valid question unanswered, she walked back to pick up a big bag she'd left a few steps away. She lifted it up with a single hand and then headed towards the stall, closely followed by Adder. It was about time that they began working. A sudden thought popped up in Adder's mind as he helped her set up the carpet.
So, how come the patron ain't here? Just gonna be the two of us today? You won't tell your pa I got here late, right, boss?
She punched his arm with such strength that she almost made him fall sideways.
Ow! What did I... Oh, tail. Sorry, boss.
This little reminder that was a sensitive issue effectively killed the conversation. People from all over Earlum, I'm sorry, I'm never going to pronounce these right. It's going to be a struggle. Began congregating in the bazaar, turning the walled plaza into a sea of spice, trinkets, and deer. The currents of that sea were still difficult to understand for Adder, who often found himself pushed to the ground in the busiest hours. Today would be especially lively. It was the beginning of the dawn spoon season, and so the festive at Kane had to make sure to bid a proper farewell to the that was wrong. Farewell to the rain clouds, so they'd be back again by the end of it. Pleasant change from Adder's usual day-to-day, working in Eina's forge under the continuous risk of suffering a heat stroke or third-degree burns. Oh, that's what he thought at first.
Welcome! We got the best prices in town! Come on and see what goods we offer!
There was no reaction whatsoever to his incessant yelling. Other than Eina snickering at him for trying so hard, that is.
Sure must be fun watching me break my back so your dad won't yell at us.
Oops, I cut her off. I'm sorry. I don't like cutting voice actors off. I have a personal belief to listen to the voice actors no matter what. It doesn't matter how many times I've played the game. It's just out of respect. A lot of effort and skill went into doing it, so I want to let them be heard everywhere. I don't want to cut them off. Small shiny dagger. After checking its sharpness against her glove, she began stabbing the air as possible customers approached the stall, attempting to showcase its intended use. Adder quickly put his hands over his shoulders, discreetly bringing her arms down.
You know what? Nah, take that back. There ain't no deer in the world that works harder than Eina of the test. There just ain't. A hard worker like you deserves a good rest every once in a while, so just let me take care of this, boss.
He did his best attempt at a natural smile. Eina couldn't care less about any of this. Eina, who couldn't care less about any of this, simply shrugged and sat back, still wielding the knife. She let her hand fall on one of the stones that paved the bazaar and effortlessly tore it from the ground, deciding that it served better as a sharpening tool. It was the best to leave the issue alone. Adder had figured out quite some time ago that Eina was a creature of habit, and her habits included steadfastly refusing to put any effort into anything she didn't care about. But it never really bothered him at all. There was something fascinating about watching her get completely absorbed by whatever task she had chosen to focus on. Really, Adder never quite had that level of dedication to his craft, if he even had one. She could hammer tirelessly at a single hunk of metal for hours at a time, if the price required so, all while judging Adder's every move with the same intensity. She was just as capable of sitting in a corner and glaring away the hours while she sank deep into her own imagination. That's why he immediately knew something was off when she turned her face away from the dull knife of her own accord.
Huh? What's wrong, boss? Wait, is that... Oh, no. Don't tell me he's coming this way!
Well, you look like an asshole. Eina wasn't going to tell him either way, but coming this way was he, being at his worst one-sided nightmare. The Amaterasin of Irlam's Soak, Taylor the Treasurer, followed by his pale retinue. So I'm guessing he's a politician. He is a treasurer. Of course, we don't know how the government works yet. It hasn't really been showed to us. And I don't think I got far enough of this story to learn any of it, so if it is a thing, I don't know. This is something I'm blind on. Adder didn't even have time to yelp before the merchant among merchants politely announced his presence with an ancient greeting.
I'm aware of how hectic the stall must be today, so I won't keep you long. I simply realized what a rare occasion it is to see you out in the crowd, so I thought I would take a moment to come and pay my respects to you. I hope you'll find some solace seeing a familiar face among the hustle and bustle.
Oh yeah, you really are an asshole. Sorry. Got distracted. Eina's eyes turned sharply away from Taylor, closely accompanied by the tip of her knife. The stag's head followed the motion, only to find the eerily immobile set of deer waiting by his side.
I understand the apprehension you feel towards my company, but I'm afraid these are the only escorts I can ever trust with my back anymore. It's a dangerous world out there for people like me.
Oh yes, I'm sure it is.
Speaking of which, where's your father? Has he considered my latest proposal? Or will I have to send any more of my people his way?
Oh, you're extorting them! Adder didn't miss the way Anna's fingers clenched around the dagger she was sharpening. Come up with an excuse to distract him. Huh. I think I went with this the first time I played through this chapter.
Oh, 3! We completely forgot what day it is, boss! Look how low the sun's already! What you burning daylight for? Ain't it time to do that thing you had to do? You know, that thing? The thing with the stuff?
To say that I had no clue of what Adder was trying to do would be a vast understatement. Oh, I guess this is the dumb choice, but you know, whatever. It was a vast understatement. It implies she had ever considered that Adder had enough wits to draw plans, or that she had the social acumen to pick up on them to begin with. In any other moment, perhaps our protagonist would have realized just how much she had in common with his boss. Right now, however, he couldn't help but fear the strange talent both Eina and Taylor had for ignoring his interruptions.
Right, well, I don't want you feeling like a wet shoe on our carpet most of Seth, but you may want to go gut someone else for the time being. Eina's for real busy today, and it don't look like the patron's planning to honor us with his presence, so,
Adder needn't do anything more remarkable than put a hand on Eina's shoulder to make Taylor shoot a look in his direction, at least. Okay, so you had the fucking hots for her, apparently. It was but a brief glance, a glance best reserved for a slug crawling up your leg. A glance so scalding that it could make weeds wilt and crumble to dust within seconds. The kind of glance that would normally precede the untimely death of an elongated yellow stag. As Adder's luck would have it, however, recognition set in the merchant's gaze just at the right moment. An unsettling half-smile formed in his face instead.
Ah, yes. I remember you now. Geoff's little paramour. The oversized one-eyed fawn that wanted to be a knight. One Durandun for a full set of armor was what you requested, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope. Sir, I'd never dare say you're mistaken, but I doubly not dare say so when it comes to numbers. Imagine it. Poor farm boy could barely count trying to tell the Taylor how money works. Darn, just thinking about it cracks me up. No, sir, I can't. I just can't believe for one moment the most famous loner in all the heirloom would be so kind to remember a dumb buck's dumb dreams, much less his ugly friggin' mug.
Of course. I never forget a face, no matter how weathered or insignificant. Let it be remiss of me.
Taylor nodded to himself thoughtfully, giving Adder a chance to discreetly crawl behind Eina. Despite the yellow stag's desperate in her pleas, Taylor's eyes soon shifted towards him
Forgive
again.
my curiosity. I just can't help but wonder. How can a country boy with ambitions as great as yours go on living, day after day, knowing he can't aspire to more than his deplorable life?
Can I punch this dude in the face? I'd like to punch this dude in the face.
Geoff can barely stay sober enough to feed himself, never mind someone twice his size. It must be exhausting, staying alive.
God, people like this drive me fucking crazy. They always gotta put someone else down to cover up their own insecurities. Always.
Oh, no, not at all. We manage. Sorta.
Taylid's soft features drew close to Adder, but he barely even noticed. His only eye remained glued to Taylid's bodyguards.
It's not too late to consider the offer I made you back then. Let me put those deformed hands of yours to better use. I could give you the armor and the money to pay for it now, if you come work for me in the sewers. It won't be much worse than whatever the blind witch has you doing.
That's mighty kind of you, Mr. Taylor, but it's poor manners to consider job offers in front of your own boss.
You make a fair point. Perhaps once I've torn that red scab off our guild's back then. Eina.
Taylor finished his farewell with a bow, and thus left the moneylender at last, followed by the delayed rhythm of a calacerous march. Adder's body had somehow contorted into being nearly indistinguishable from Eina's at this point. He needed a few more seconds to thaw out that position.
Oh, beeswax, I'm crawling out of my skin here. Who the hell you laughing at now, huh? That weirdo ain't no joke, you hear me? Last time I talked to him, it only took me shoving my hoof in my mouth half a second to swish, get a blade on my neck. And all I could see out of this eye was the creepy face of one of those golem...
Eina's ears perked up, though her gaze remained firmly locked on the blade.
No, yeah, of course you'd find it funny, Mistress Miss Tess. Paying my respect sure is a fancy way of saying he got the hots for you.
Adder barely avoided getting his liver punctured by an extremely flustered Eina. The hours passed by slowly and painfully, for they were completely ignored by any passerby. Well, actually avoided rather than ignored. It was no surprise the merchant, Adder's patron, and his mute daughter were two of the most despised people in the city. In spite of the incredible variety of antiques and smithery that the merchant had for sale, no one ever bought a single thing. There were plenty of reasons for that. Even Adder had some serious doubts about working for an old barren man whose fur was redder than blood, and an albino smith that insisted on dyeing her hair green. The fact they were worked indefinitely from Earlum's Traders Guild probably had something to do with it too. In any case, it was well after noon, and they hadn't done anything but sit around the whole day. Adder pressed his lips together and began drumming his fingers against the floor. He looked askance at Eina, hoping his subtle call for attention had stirred her curiosity, but there was no answer. He'd have to be the one to actually break the silence as usual.
Hey, Eina. I bet you're still wondering just what in the world could make a hard-working buck like this one get here so late this morning.
Eina stopped hitting the rock with a blade. She barely moved her eyes towards Adder.
Well, buckle up, because there's a whole story there. This got to stay between you and I. But, this morning...
Do I want to be, I don't know, I ran through a wall, I saw a beast. I saw a gazelle. I don't know, I feel like this is going to be the funny one, and I want to go with the funny one.
I saw a gazelle. But not any gazelle. No, ma'am. She was the fanciest gazelle girl I've ever seen. And there she was in the slums, strutting her hip-shaking, earthquaking, heart-melting butt.
Ah, yes, I'm glad I went with this one. God damn, dude. Anna's inquisitive gaze suddenly made Adder very conscious of his own words and thoughts. Adder's most certainly not used to having her pay attention to him when he spoke.
But ugly face! So I just ran away because she was so awful. Ugh, yuck. Yeah.
Adder could feel Eina's lilac eyes stared at his very soul, piercing a hole with the question that she meant to ask him. Why, it was such an intense look that he felt flustered. With her usual silent demeanor, Eina brought her two gloved hands in front of her face. She balled them into a fist, raising just her index fingers. Then she lifted them until they rested on her forehead like tiny horns.
Horns?
With a quick motion, she took her horns to her mouth, biting them. Hey, that's fucking not cool, dude.
I ain't no gosh darn freaking horn eater, Kay! I like does!
Wow. The best way to define Eina's smile at this precise moment would be terrifyingly mean. While her bad temper was known and feared among the other merchants, it was unusual for her to be so acidic, especially towards Adder. Our dear boy couldn't help but notice this change. He wasn't going to keep it to himself,
You're
of course.
acting real ugly, boss.
Yeah. The smile on her face vanished, replaced instead by a grimace. In response to this affirmation, Eina merely shifted her gaze back to the blade and resumed her task, pretending she hadn't heard it. But if Adder was known for one thing, it was incessant need to stick his nose in everyone's business. Are you... No, we're not going to do that. That's not something you should do. You should not insinuate what someone's feeling. You should just ask, hey, how are you feeling in this moment? What's wrong?
What's wrong, Eina?
A wrinkle formed over her nose as she focused on keeping calm, but Adder didn't get the
Come
message.
on, don't just keep everything to yourself. You know there ain't a single thing in the whole of Nah you can't tell me.
No sooner did he finish that sentence, Eina slammed the dagger she was sharpening against the ground, effectively sticking its tip in it.
Right. I know there ain't a single thing you can tell me either. This is one of them metaphors things Gaff loves. He says that a hushed mouth ain't got nothing on an open heart.
Eina got up all of a sudden, her face red in anger. Adder was preparing himself mentally for the beating that he expected would ensue. But instead she just plopped down on the ground, sitting with her back against him. Our dear buck was puzzled to say the least, but Eina didn't even make a sound. She just sat behind him, completely still and hidden from the public eye. Of course, the possibility of getting whacked in the head was now more real than ever, so Adder didn't even attempt to guess why she'd ever do that.
What was the patron thinking?
Well, he probably didn't expect you two to play, hide and seek in the stall.
Adder and Eina immediately jumped away from each other, doing their worst best attempt at looking half professional. A thunderous laugh resonated over the ruckus of the bazaar. Ildegrab. Okay, that's
it's respectable Ildegrab Buntalos to you, boy.
Ah, the Batalis family. The tree deers.
But please, don't hold back on my account. I'll just look the other way. What?
And so appeared the man that was so red that it would seem that he'd stolen all the color his daughter was lacking.
Patron!
Ah, so he gets the respectful treatment and I don't. I see how it is.
What's that salacious doll cop doing to my daughter now?
They're just strengthening their ties of friendship. Ah, or is this a budding love?
there gonna be a love triangle? I have a feeling there's gonna be a love triangle later. The merchant shook his cane, hitting Ildegrab's twiggy leg with a loud thunk. The tree man just wiggled his mustache in response.
Whoa! Hold up! We weren't doing anything, patron.
That's the problem, you cumberground! You lighter sack! You!
A coughing fit saved Adder from more old-timey insults, which he could barely comprehend. Once he'd recovered, the merchant put his bearded face next to Adder's, resting the tip of his cane on Adder's chest. He opened his toothless mouth slowly, his breath reeking more like bleach than liquor.
You haven't sold a single thing, have you?
Now, that's hardly their fault, Red.
I'm sure this Yeltsin was just frolicking with my daughter as usual!
She's old enough to frolic as she pleases.
She hasn't even come of age yet!
Of course she hasn't. There's no way for her to pass that right.
Of course there is! She just needs to open her mouth and stop being an idiot!
Oh god, not apparent like this.
The only idiot here is the one talking, patron. Eina's just mute.
I wish that rub off on you! And maybe you'd learn to keep your mouth shut when adults are talking!
But I did pass the coming of age right, sir! I got them adult horns and...
Shut up! Don't you have anything to say about this, insolent child? Eina?
She walked away while you two were arguing.
Then why didn't you say so sooner, you overgrown sapling?
She looked like she needed it.
This is all your fault! And yours!
He stabbed at his nose with the tip of his finger.
What did I do?
That stupid child's been acting up since you first arrived!
Don't blame the poor boy. She's always had an attitude, and you know it.
I don't care! You two'd better go bugger off somewhere else. Or I swear to Arab that I'll hit you so hard that you'll be cropping out your teeth for a week!
Both Adder and Ildegrab winced at that.
Now hold up, what?
Come on, Adder. Those two clearly want some alone time. And he'll have plenty of that when I leave him tied to the pyre next time I find a mob outside the shop.
Ildegrab took Adder by the cape and lifted her off the ground as they walked away. Didn't take Ildegrab long to notice Adder's unusual reticence to speak.
Please, don't let Red's words affect you. He's, worse today. There's a storm coming from the west, and it's making us old people nervous.
No, the patron can preach and holler all he want. That don't bother me much. I mean, I don't cry anymore, at least.
Oh my god.
What he said to Eina, though? Now that's going 2 paces past the league too far. So what if she can't swear the oath thing? The 3 won't get mad at her for being mute. And anyway, Eina don't gotta pass no right. It ain't like she's getting married any day soon, right?
There. Got it all out of your system, boy?
You know what? All this stuff I'm saying means radish stew if I don't say it to her face. I gotta find her and make sure she's alright.
Ildegrab didn't reply to that last affirmation. He placed Adder carefully on the ground and patted his cape to strengthen
Well,
it.
in that case, I have to go back to keeping watch on the fair. So, this is where we say goodbye for today. Hey, I'll send someone to fetch you if I see her, okay?
Adder nodded resolutely. They waved goodbye to each other. Adder nodded resolutely. They waved goodbye to each other, and then the buck just stood there wondering where to start looking when the bazaar was half a league from gate to gate, assuming she was still at the bazaar at all.
Finally! I thought that fluffy bastard was never leaving.
Galf walked in the scene with a huge smile. The giant disappeared in the
Afternoon,
distance.
Mr. Bard.
Oh, lad, what a face.
Well, see, it's a long...
Ah, not a word. Thy mien speaketh clearer than thy tongue doeth. You're hungry.
Nah, I ain't in the mood to...
Well, I am, And I can't play a song when my stomach's growling a gazelle. Let's get some fried leaves.
Sorry, Bard. I ain't got time for any of that. I gotta go look for Eina. She just ran away angry as all get out, and I know darn well if I don't go check up on her, no one's gonna...
And I thought my songs were monothematic.
Gal flicked the string of his ode one by one, deep in thought, while Adder just paced
I
around.
know just the place to look.
Alrighty, well, we are pretty much at time now, so I'm going to stop it right here for today. Save right here. I just save it in increments in case I have to go back because of issues with recordings, but yeah, that's a thing I have to do now. But yeah, so there we go. We met Eina, I guess it's pronounced, and Ildegrab. Bontalos, one of the tree deers, I think there are, from what I remember from the lore. So yeah, and when we come back next time, we're gonna try to find Eina. So, thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to BronyTime for more content, especially more of the Hayseed Night. And I will see you guys next time.